The Detroit Pistons have had a lot of players step up in the absence of those who are injured and play really well. So what will the rotation look like when those players do get back from injury? We'll answer that in today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast, where I am your host, Khahil. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network in America. We appreciate all of your guys' support. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. Later on, we will discuss Duncan Robinson, who got a lot of stones thrown at him by Pistons fans early in the season. I mean, very early in the season. Playing really well, and no one's really talking about it. So I want to give Duncan his flowers and talk about how well he's playing and how that's vastly helping the Detroit Pistons. And then also, should the Detroit Pistons be interested in making a big trade? We'll talk about why that's important, why I'm bringing that up, and where we heard it first from, which is more important than anything. I'll break it down for you guys coming up. But let's start with, what is the Pistons rotation going to look like when everyone is back 100% healthy? And the reason why I bring this up is because we just watched, in this Wizards game, so many players step up and play so well. We watched Daniss Jenkins play a lot of minutes and be a hero of that game, really. We've seen Chaz Lanier play, and honestly, play pretty well. We've seen Paul Reed, every single time he comes on the floor, play really well. Javonte Green has been a mainstay in the rotation so far this year, and is... I know he's shooting 30. It says he's shooting 34% from the field, which is not great. But if you watch the games, I mean, he's all over the place. I mean, you gotta give him. There's sometimes he takes a shot here and there that you're like, okay, you don't really want Javonte Green taking that. But the defense, he's given it his all on defense. He's all over the glass. This past game, he had 11 rebounds. Like, this is a 6'4", 6'5" guy, all over the glass, blocking three-point shots, getting stops, hustling all over the floor. Like, he's just playing really well. I can't lie to you. He's playing really well. So you have these guys stepping up and playing well while all these guys are out. We got Asar out right now. Tobias, Stu, Ivey, Sasser, LeVert, all these guys were out. And these guys are stepping up and playing well. So what's going to happen when those guys return? So as of right now, let's just look at this. As of right now, through this season, the Pistons have 10 guys who are playing 10-plus minutes a game. That's including Jenkins, which I think a lot of that is heavily impacted by the fact he played so many minutes yesterday. He's not been a mainstay in the rotation at all through the course of the season. And again, I think some of the minutes by like Jenkins and the guys below him are impacted by the fact that they played quite a bit against the Cavs when the Pistons got blown out. But nonetheless, 10 guys, and that's not including Paul Reed, who's averaging 9 minutes a game, but plays extremely well every time he's on the floor. So when everyone's back 100% healthy, what does it look like? One, Paul Reed obviously just won't be a part of the rotation. He plays when Duren or Stu are in foul trouble, or Duren and Stu, one of them, are out for the game, or injured, whatever. Paul Reed comes in as that third big, and he plays exceptional really every time he touches the floor. He plays really well. So you're happy by him being a third-string center. That's not someone you're looking at like, oh, we need to find a way to get him minutes. He wants to play, like that kind of thing. Don't have a problem with that. Once Asar gets back, obviously he's playing. Tobias comes back, he's playing. Here's the guys that I would say that are guaranteed rotation spots that you just have to play. You got Cade, Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Ron Holland, and Isaiah Stewart. I think Caris LeVert is basically on that as well. And then you got Jaden Ivey. That's 9 guys right there that I think you absolutely have to play. So who is that leaving out? That is leaving out Daniss Jenkins and Marcus Sasser. And I guess this segment's really going to turn into, I'm sorry for Marcus Sasser. Because Jenkins has played so well every single time he's hit the floor, and especially with how well he played this past game, that you feel like you almost have to give him minutes moving forward. He has earned it. If a player can play this well and not get minutes, you're basically letting them know there's nothing they can do to get minutes. So I feel like he's basically penciled himself in that he's going to get minutes moving forward somehow, some way. And Sasser is out 4 to 6 weeks. as of the last update we got on him about like 3 to 4 days ago, 5 days ago. So this isn't going to be something that's going to come up anytime soon. But when Sasser does get back healthy, I talked about this before the year. Sasser's 25. He's not 21, 22 like the rest of the guys on the team. He doesn't have forever to just wait around until you give him his chance. If he's not going to get his chance this year, if he's going to come back and he's going to have his rotation spot taken from Daniss Jenkins, like, if I'm Sasser, I'm like, you know what? Like, you got to trade me, man. Like, I don't got forever. I'm losing my prime years right now. Like, I want to play. You guys got to send me somewhere else. So, I'm saying this because I do think Daniss has earned the right to play. Even if Sasser was healthy right now, Jenkins has earned the right. Like, let's say today we got the update. Sasser's available to return. He can play. I don't see how you play him over Jenkins with how Jenkins playing. So, if they want to go 10-man deep, I mean, I think that's what it would look like. Let's go to the main part of the rotation, though. Not so much about who's going to play, who's not, but how are the minutes going to look like and how are the lineups going to be crafted? Because if you try to run a 10-man rotation with Jenkins, all of a sudden you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 guards in your rotation trying to play if you have Jenkins. How is that going to work? Who's going to get what minutes? All of a sudden you have a heavy guard rotation. You have a heavy guard lineup. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm interested. Like, I know we're not going to talk about this yet. Like, eventually we'll dive further into it eventually. But, like, what's the starting lineup going to look like? Like, are they just going to put Ivey back into the starting lineup? They're 9-2 without him. I'm not suggesting they're better without Ivey, but they are 9-2 with this current starting lineup. And we're about to talk about Duncan later, who's playing extremely well, and how that's impacted the team and why they've looked so good in his minutes now. Like, do you bring Ivey back and just put him right back in the starting lineup? Is he coming off the bench? If he does come off the bench, what's his role off the bench? Is he playing with, Khahil? Like, what's happening? If you do start him, okay, well, what's the bench lineup look like? Are you, like, this is all, the Pistons are 9-2. They're playing extremely well, so this is all conversations that no one's really had to have and no one really cares about right now, which I get. But once all these guys come back healthy, and really the important guys come back healthy, that should be soon. We don't know how long Tobias, Sasser, Stu are out, but they haven't, at least as of yet. We know how the Pistons work, but at least as of yet, we haven't been led to believe it's anything serious with all these guys. And Ivey, we're probably at most a week away from another update with him. So we're maybe like 2 weeks away from having like all the main guys back. I am very, very interested to see what the lineup and the rotation looks like once that happens. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting. It's a good problem to have if you're the Detroit Pistons. They've shown that they have a lot of depth on this team. Again, even Chaz. I've been really impressed by what we've seen from Chaz. Especially defensively. I've said over and over, he looks bigger than what I thought he was coming into the league. His wingspan really pops when you see him on the floor. He looks a lot stronger. He handles himself well defensively. He's always making the right. I really have liked what we've seen from Chaz. I'm not saying Chaz deserves minutes as a second-round pick in this rotation. I'm just saying, Chaz has honestly played really well. So, that's just to point out the depth that they've shown. It's a good thing to have, that you have these many guys that you can maybe feel comfortable with. And I guess you're kind of saying JB Bickerstaff proven right. I know I said on media day that I didn't really believe him when he was like, there are so many guys on this team that aren't going to be in rotation that I would feel comfortable playing if we had to. And I was like, oh, that's just coach speak. You always say that. Just trying to up your teammates and you up your players. But so far this year, through 11 games, we have seen multiple guys step up and play well when they're called upon. So maybe JB was actually right. But I'm really interested to see what it looks like when everyone gets back healthy. Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. What do you think the lineup and the rotation will look like once everyone is completely back, and who's going to be left out of the rotation? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, should the Detroit Pistons make a big trade? I'll tell you guys why this is a topic and who we heard it from that makes it such a big deal to me coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com. You sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Then I've got to tell you about another one of our sponsors, Bilt. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Bilt comes in. Bilt is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Bilt, you can earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Bilt isn't just about rent, it's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Bilt has made everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plan. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you at joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Who would have thought I'd be talking about this already? November 11th, we're discussing whether the Pistons should be making a big trade. And it's not for bad reason. It's not young guys didn't improve, so you might need to move off of them. It's time to figure out who your core is and move off of guys, but like in a bad way. It's a good reason. And I want the main point of this, or not the main point of this, the biggest reason I should say that I'm talking about this right now is how we heard about this, or where we first heard this I guess quote unquote rumor or just thought process where we first heard this. If you know what the Hoop Collective podcast is, it's an ESPN podcast that is hosted by Brian Windhorst. I think everyone knows who Brian Windhorst is. But also he has Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon on there. And this past week they had Vincent Goodwill on the podcast as a guest. Now, if you don't know who Vinny is, we had him on the podcast this past summer, like 2 months ago, to talk about the offseason, free agency, what the Pistons are going to do, what is he hearing, that kind of thing. And the reason why that's so important to know that also, actually, let me give a little bit more background. Vinny was also a Detroit Pistons beat writer before elevating to Yahoo Sports and then elevating now to ESPN. You probably have seen him on First Take the last few days. So he's had quite the rise here. The reason why that's so important is that for the last few years, before this past year, but for the last few years, James Edwards, friend of the podcast, James, you listen to this, what's up, man? You need to come back. Detroit's much better than New York, man. You got to get over here. James was the beat writer for the Detroit Pistons for The Athletic. And James, I am telling you guys this as a fact. This is not me guessing. This is me telling you guys, you have to trust my word, that James was the most plugged in person in the Pistons community. If James wrote anything, you need to read into it because he's not writing it for no reason. If James wrote an opinion piece, you need to read it and read in between the lines because there's a reason why he's writing that piece. If he hinted at something, if he winked, elbow, nudge at something, like James knew just about everything that was going. Like James was plugged in to such a high degree. So when he was with the Pistons, a lot of Pistons fans got a lot of info and understood a lot of what was going on and maybe what the Pistons were thinking, where they were heading, because James would write about it and James was plugged in. But James left this past year. He went to the New York Knicks. And since then, we haven't really seen anybody be that plugged in or really get that type of insight. Not to toot my own horn, but I had a little bit for you guys in the offseason, but I'm nowhere near, I'm not plugged in like that at all. I hear things every now and then. And I relay it to you guys, but I'm not, plugged in where I'm giving I'm hearing stuff every day. Like it's just, it's not like that. So without James, you just don't really hear anything. A lot of Pistons fans don't get a lot of insight. This is where Vinny comes in. If there is another person that you would say is as plugged in into the Detroit Pistons, it's Vincent Goodwill. If it's James, if you had a hierarchy, it's James, Vince, and really Shams. That's where they're at. They're on that level. They are very plugged in with the Pistons. The reason why that is so important is because why did I call him Vincent? Vinny went on the podcast with the Hoop Collective, and early on in the podcast, all of a sudden he brings up, hey, should we be watching the Pistons as a potential team to make a big trade? And then all of a sudden, Brian Windhorst says, you know what? I've actually been hearing from people that a lot of people are wondering and thinking the Pistons are going to make a trade. And then Vinny himself goes out there and is like, you know what? They're playing really well. Cade's playing extremely well. Duren's playing extremely well. Asar Thompson's playing really well. Could they think about, with how well they're playing, taking some of these other pieces, and they have all their picks, and really making a push? Do they feel like that maybe with how well they're playing and the East being open, that they can really show up and arrive and control how things go for the next few years and feel like they really arrived? And Brian Windhorst then follows it up by saying he has heard that there is a specific player that numerous people have said that they think the Pistons will be interested in and try to go after, but he doesn't want to say the name of that player. You guys can speculate who that player is, but he said that it's a player that you have not heard often in trade rumors. That's what he said, basically. So if you guys want to try to guess who he's talking about, who they're hearing, let me know. The reason why all that is important is because I don't care what anyone says. I do not care what anyone says. The fact that Vinny said that on that podcast, that immediately has now put me on trade alert the rest of the season. If Vinny is going out on a national podcast and saying that, that's not coming from nowhere. He's not saying that for no reason. He is way too plugged in for him to say that, and it mean absolutely nothing. And then for Brian Windhorst to then follow up, one of the other best insiders in the NBA, to then follow it up with saying, yeah, I'm kind of hearing the same thing. Again, I am now on trade alert until the trade deadline. I am going to be waiting and watching everything because that's not coming from nowhere. The question is, why would the Pistons be making a move? The Pistons are 9-2 right now, guys. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference. They have a superstar that's playing like a superstar. They could feel like this is their not just now, and Vinny and Brian brought this up on the podcast, and they're 100% right. This would not be like a rent that the Pistons would make. They wouldn't be renting a player for a year or two. They'd be going after a player that they want to stay for the long haul along with this. So it's not just, oh, this is the year we're going for it, and now after this year we're screwed. No, it's okay, we think our guys have arrived. We feel like we can be contending now for the next 4 or 5 years. Like, we believe our window has now started. If we make a move, we can compete now for the next 4 years. That type of player. When you reach this point, when your superstar reaches this point and you feel like you're young guys and you're getting an idea, when you feel like you're finally seeing this is who the core is and these guys are playing really well and they've taken the next step and it's translating to wins and they're ready, like Trajan told us all offseason, that's when you feel comfortable about making a move because now you know what is the move that you need to make. You feel confident about your young guys. They're taking the step forward. Now you know what the team needs to take that next step. Let me go address it. So that's why the Pistons would be on trade alert and why I'm putting them on trade alert. Because they're playing so well. And Cade's playing so well. He's reached a level of, like we said, superstardom. Jalen Duren's taking that next step. Asar Thompson, I would say Duren's taking a leap. I say Asar is taking a big step. What Duren's doing is he's taking such a larger leap than what Asar's doing. It would be disrespectful, I feel like, to Duren to say he's just taking a step. Duren is taking a leap right now from what we've seen, and Asar is just taking a step. But both of them are incredibly valuable. Obviously, they're best players and contributing to legit wins and leading them to the top of the East. Along with that, the Pistons now control all of their picks. Remember, for a long time, they didn't control their picks. For a long time, they had picks wrapped up. They had picks wrapped up due to the first round, the trade that Troy Weaver had made for Isaiah Stewart. Because the first round pick was protected. So you couldn't really trade your first round picks until all of it, until it eventually conveyed, which it did this past season. The other reason, which Brian Windhorst and Vinny also brought up on the podcast, is the Pistons are set up salary cap-wise to make a move. They have expiring deals in Tobias Harris, expiring $26 million deal. They got movable contracts at decent size movable contracts in Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. And I thought a really interesting part or point that Vinny brought up on the podcast as well. Again, like I said, when I hear Vinny talk about the Pistons, I'm not just listening. I am reading into everything he says because he doesn't say stuff for no reason. He made sure to emphasize the contract that they gave Duncan Robinson was very fishy. It was very weird. Only the first year is guaranteed. Why would they do that? That was very weird, a very weird contract to hand out. Why would they do that? So that would make that contract even more appealing to other teams. So they got movable contracts, they got expirings, and they have no long-term salary. Their books are not, like they're not all the way up against the tax. They're not screwed long-term. The only player that is under contract past this year is Isaiah Stewart, Karis LeVert, which I think would be a prime trade candidate in this year. Asar has his team option, which they'll pick up. Ron Holland, Paul Reed, Sasser has a team option, and Bobby Klitman. Those are the only guys that are under contract after this year. Now, obviously, an extension for Duren, if he continues to play like this, obviously, is coming. It will happen, so he'll be on the contract after this. And then, obviously, you have the question about Ivey, which Ivey was I'm not the one saying this. Don't come after me. But he was kind of hinted at on the podcast as one of the guys that would maybe be on the way out. But even if he isn't, let's say he isn't, and he comes back, plays well, whatever. He'll be a part of it long term as well then. Whatever. Just pencil him in. Even with all of that, the Pistons books are wide open. So they can absorb a big salary and still be good and extend guys and be in a good spot and still have somewhat of flexibility. I am on high alert, guys. I am absolutely on high alert. This was one of the scenarios in which I could have seen the Pistons make a move. Certain young guys take a step forward. Cade continues to play well. Your team is looking great or playing let's not say great. Let's say playing extremely well to start the year. The rest of the East isn't looking good. You feel like your guys have arrived and they are that one piece away from being contenders for the next 5 years and that you think you can do it now. That's the situation that I feel like they might be in right now. And the fact that it was talked about the way it was talked about in the Hoop Collective tells me that there's a good chance we see something happen this year. What I want to hear from you guys, though, because I have some guesses in my head. And this is probably going to be a podcast episode next week. I'm going to have a guest on. What I want to hear from you guys is, who do you guys think Brian Windhorst was talking about? I've seen a bunch of Pistons fans trying to figure out, okay, who is he talking about here? He said that there is a player that numerous people have told him that they believe the Pistons will be interested in wanting to trade for this year. That is a name. There's two hints that he gave us. One, a player that you're not hearing that's readily available in trade talks, or that's always talked about in trade rumors. That's one. And two, the level of a Desmond Bane move is what he said. So those are the two hints he gave. I want to hear from you guys who you think he could be talking about here, and would you want to make a big trade this year if you were the Detroit Pistons, and what a trade would look like. I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't think Brian Windhorst, I know the first name people are going to say is Lauri Markkanen. I don't think Brian Windhorst is talking about Lauri Markkanen, because Lauri Markkanen is talked about nonstop as potential trade person for the Detroit Pistons. I don't think he would say, the two hints he gave doesn't fit the billing of Lauri Markkanen. He's talked about nonstop as a trade target. So let me know, comment section down below, who you guys are thinking he's talking about, and do you believe the Pistons should be on trade alert the rest of the year? Let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, Duncan Robinson. Got a lot of stones thrown at him from Pistons fans early on in the season, very, very early in the season. And now he's playing extremely well. And it's leading to the Pistons playing really well. We'll talk about it coming up. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contact. So if you're ready to say yes to saying no, make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. NBA. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for only the first 3 months. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Duncan Robinson deserves his flowers. He is playing extremely well. Extremely well. And to start the year, he wasn't. In the first 3 games, he shot 0 of 5 from 3, 2 of 7 from 3, 2 of 5 from 3. They lost 2 of those games. He didn't play. They were really destroyed in one of those games in his minutes. Against Boston, they really lost his minutes, and he didn't look very good at all. Wasn't looking good for him. But over the last 7 games, the duration of the Detroit Pistons winning streak, he is shooting 43% from deep on 7 attempts a game. That is the Duncan Robinson that we all thought the Pistons were getting. The one that I told you guys would eventually show up. He has a long history of being a shooter. He wasn't all of a sudden going to forget how to shoot. Duncan Robinson's a great shooter. He was going to show back up. And you are now seeing him, for the last 7 games, shoot 43% from the field. He's shooting 64% on twos as well. He's averaging 3 rebounds along with 2.1 assists a game, to less than a turnover a game. You're starting to see some of that playmaking. You're seeing him with that movement shooting, and not just the movement shooting, but that how often he moves off ball, creating open shots for others, him driving closeouts and then kicking out to guys and keeping the ball moving. That's really beneficial to the Pistons half-court offense. I think you're seeing that, especially over the last few games, is looking really good. He's also averaging 13 points a game while shooting, again, 43% from the field, 48% from the floor, along with the whole movement, the playmaking stuff. He's playing extremely well. And you guys know I like looking at on-off. In 358 minutes with Duncan Robinson on the floor, the Pistons are now winning his minutes by nearly 7 points per 100 possession. They have an offensive rating of 120.08 with him on the floor, and a defensive rating of 113.1 with him on the floor. Both of those are very good numbers. When he's off the floor, they're winning his minutes by 1.9 points a game. So basically what that means is they are 5 points better with Duncan Robinson on the floor this year. They are outscoring their opponents by 7 points when he's on the floor, and they are 5 points better when he's on the floor versus off. That matches the eye test. They desperately needed his shooting in the starting lineup. They needed his shooting with the lineup that they're running. I understand that early in the season it wasn't looking good because, he wasn't hitting shots. He was getting picked on defensively, and he's still been picked on defensively. That has happened. But when you're on the floor with Asar Thompson and Cade, and you got Jalen Duren trying how he is, you can hide him a little bit defensively. You can get away with it. And this starting lineup over the last few games, they've played much better. Now, I don't think that has to do with it's a very, 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 very tiny sample size with the original starting lineup versus the one we saw with Stu, and then also versus the one that we saw with Ron Holland. They've had a lot of guys in and out, so it's hard to even look at 5-man data. I don't almost want to do it at all. What we are seeing, though, is that with him on the floor, they look like a better team. He's helping their half-court offense. Their half-court offense looks a lot better. He's not hurting their defense to a point where they're not a top defensive team. They're still a top 5 defensive team in the NBA right now. And again, the spacing plus the off-ball movement is opening up so much for the Pistons. And you know how many threes Duncan Robinson has hit over the last 5 games in transition or momentum shifting threes? He hit a few yesterday against the Wizards. He's done it multiple times. So Duncan Robinson, is he Malik of last year? No. Nobody was going to be Malik of last year. Malik Beasley was not going to be the Malik of last year. What Malik did this past year was historic. We have not seen more than 2 other players do what he did this past year. So holding that against anybody is unfair. But is Duncan Robinson playing really well? And is he providing exactly what you needed from him to make this team go? 100%. He is absolutely providing all of that. So far this year, with Duncan Robinson playing a heavy amount of minutes, the Pistons have the 4th best defense in the league at 110.2 defensive rating, and they are 15th best offense in the league at 115.5 offensive rating. You know what? We're going to do this live. We'll do this live on the podcast. Let's do last 7 games. Just the last 7 games, what's the Pistons' offensive rating? Yeah, the last 7 games during the win streak, the Pistons have the 5th best offense in basketball. 120.2 offensive rating. Also during this win streak, they also have a top 10 defense. Are they the only team that have a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense? No, they got Houston, OKC, Denver, Detroit. I think that's it. Yeah, that's the only team I see here. Only 4 teams that have a top 10 offense and defense over the last 7 games. Houston, OKC, Detroit, and Denver. Elite company. And that's happening with Duncan Robinson playing a ton of minutes, and he's contributing directly to the offense being a lot better. So I know Duncan got a lot of flack early in the season. I know that a lot of Pistons fans want Malik Beasley back. I know a lot of Pistons fans think Malik Beasley would be better. All this stuff. I see Duncan Robinson get picked on a lot by Pistons fans throughout games. But everyone needs to give Duncan his respect. He's doing exactly what he was brought here to do. This year, guys, actually, I just saw this number. This is actually insane. So far this year, he is in the 99th percentile on spot-ups. 99th percentile. No one's doing it better than him on spot-ups. He's shooting 59% on spot-up threes for the Pistons. That's crazy. He's playing extremely well. He's contributing directly to the Pistons playing so well, especially their half-court offense. He's a big part of the 7-game win streak, and he's been reliable. He's playing every game. He's playing a lot of minutes every game. He's reliable. He deserves his credit. He's playing extremely well. He's a big reason why they're winning. Glad to have Duncan on the team. Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil, how you guys feel about how Duncan has played as of late, and do you guys feel proud, or not, maybe proud is the wrong word. Proud definitely is the wrong word. Do you feel happy with how he's played? Are you okay? Are you excited about how he's played? Those are better words for that. Better adjectives there for how you're feeling. All right, is it adjectives? I might be embarrassing myself completely here. Just tell me how you guys are feeling about Duncan Robinson. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.